Today we are taking a look at the brand new SSD Trail King Builder's Kit Pro Scale Chassis. Thank you so much for watching. Today we are taking a look at the SSD Trail King, the ugliest box I have ever seen. I can honestly without a doubt say that this thing really lets the product down. So there's a bunch of renderings on there that really do not do the eventual product any justice. I also did not want to show you the box, a bunch of close-ups of the box, a bunch of close-ups of bags. You know what boxes and bags look like. I just want to dive into this immediately. That's also why I spent some time completely assembling it, just so I can also tell you what to expect. I don't want to do that in 17 videos. Nobody gives an F watching that and seeing how I go from bag A to bag F, because it's really not that interesting at all. So let's dive right into it. This thing is a slider kit, this Trail King, so there's nothing included when it comes to wheels, tires, bumpers, body, interior and or electronics. A few other things that you do actually need to assemble it to this stage are shock oil, grease, some blue Loctite and also some ABS glue just to get it up to this point. I did have an amazing time assembling this. It comes with some very clear instructions. There's a couple of revisions in it. One of them you will find on a leaflet included in the box. Now, if I can give you a tip, just go look at what step you actually need to start paying attention. Take a pen, sort of like skip through the manual and make sure you use your ugliest handwriting, putting some exclamation points and some scribbles there, just so you know when you arrive at that stage in the manual that something is up and you need to start paying some really close attention to not F it up completely. So that's also what I did. In addition to this leaflet, there's also at step 58, there's like a mirrored image. So that's when you start mounting the front axle to the links. Really not a big deal at all. If you have built a kit before, this will not be anything that's difficult or surprising. I will say in how difficult it was to assemble, really not at all. So even if you're like completely new to the hobby, you want to get into it, this is a good kit to actually get. It is such a shame that none of the features that you actually get in this truck are listed on the box, apart from a bunch of renderings that really do not do it any justice at all either. Those renderings, they do give you an idea of what to expect, but they don't really do it any justice because the eventual quality is far higher than anything that would actually show on this rendering. So I will just do my best to take you over some of the key features and some of the key components of what you actually get in this SSD Trail King kit. This kit does come with plenty of hardware, so almost at every stage you will have a few extra screws and or bearings and or rod ends and or pivot balls. There's even an additional set of diff covers. I used two different ones. So I used basically a classic looking diff cover in the back and then like a modified one with like a built-in skid in the front. I will make sure that you see some close-ups of those because I think it's cool that there's two sets included just so you can kind of start tweaking it right from the get-go. Again, just to emphasize it, you do not get any electronics included in this kit. So please just disregard this steering servo and the motor that I have already mounted. That's just for the sake of completion and me not having any steering links flopping around. Let's have a look at the front axle first. The front axle actually has an offset pumpkin which is packed with some machined gears. There's actually machined gears throughout this entire kit, so there's no sintered gears whatsoever. It has the high entrance pinion that you are perhaps familiar with from AR44 axles. I believe they call these the Pro 44 axles. They're really nicely finished. The fitment of them also is exceptionally good. Something to really note here are, for example, the axle tubes. Apart from being really nice quality nylon and having a really nice fitment, these are also single piece. So each side is only one piece. That means that there's no additional link mounts, there's no additional shock mounts, nothing that you need to screw in there and potentially cause any stress fractures. I think that's some really good thinking. You can also tell that once you are doing up the screws in those axle housings, that they actually, it feels really nice and snug. It doesn't feel like it's going to strip out anytime soon. Now in the manual, they're talking about 3 different screw lengths for the rear axle, 4, 5 and 6 millimeters. I could actually only find 2 different screw lengths. So that could be just my kit, but it could also be that the manual is a tiny bit off there. It's also one of the only parts where I could actually flaw the manual. Looking at the front axle, there's also machined aluminium, machined aluminum or machined aluminum, whatever you want to call that, C-hubs and steering knuckles. Those are being held together with some brass bushings and some really nice quality hardware. Moving upwards, you will also see that the panhard mount is also machined aluminium. The bumper mounts are machined aluminium and the motor mount is machined aluminium. So there's a lot of high quality parts going on in this truck. The front also comes directly with some universals, which is to be expected for a kit with a price tag like this. Now if we chase those axles up to the transfer case, you will see there's actually steel drive shafts front and back, and tying everything together, titanium links. I think that's also pretty unique. So the steering links, the panhard, all of the other links, top and bottom, they are actually all titanium. You do have the option to actually mount this as a 4-link suspension if you want to go that route. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but just know that there is an additional hole here for another top link. Going up, looking at the frame rails, there's an additional spacer in the back, which is also machined aluminium, just to give it a tiny bit more chassis length. You will see that there's also a fuel cell. The battery sits right in front of that. And then all the way in front, you will actually see that the steering servo sits in a non-obstructive place to the panhard. So where with an axial SE extend you would actually have the steering servo sitting parallel to the frame rails, this actually sits at a 90-degree angle, making sure that you have full steering throw, also on full suspension compression. I think that's pretty clever thinking. The servo I mounted is an Eco Power servo. I will make sure that there's a link to that one in the description box. If you wonder what motor I intend on running in this one, this is a Castle Slate 1900 kV. I will also be mounting Mamba X speed control, but all of that stuff is going to be later. Again, I just mounted it for the sake of illustration and also for the sake of not having to backtrack everything eventually once assembled. This scale transmission and transfer case, looking at the box, you might think that it's actually machined aluminum, but that's not the case. This is a really high quality plastic. All of the hardware is stainless. All the gears inside, again, are machined, and everything went together with great ease. The only thing that, if I want to nitpick, the only thing that might be a tiny bit of a headache is if you want to fit a different pinion just to get the mesh to sit right. Now I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do that. If you are familiar with these transmission cases and you have found a trick to get the mesh to be completely correct, in case you do want to run a different size pinion, please let me know in the comment section. Much appreciated. Shocks, aluminum bodies, aluminum capped, aluminum adjustment rings. You will see that I have not filled mine up yet, but I have taken one apart. Can't say enough nice things about it, to be honest. This fuel cell will house, of course, your receiver, may even house your ESC if you have one that is small enough in form to throw in there. And another noteworthy thing are these floorboards. These are actually a top and a bottom section with the rock slider sitting in between of the two, which will ensure that you have a completely smooth bottom. So there's nothing, smooth bottom, I just said that, there's really nothing that you can get hung up on. All of this is super smooth. And we'll make sure that you do not get hung up on any of the rocks that you will send this thing over. Again, all of the nylon bits as well, so all the shock towers, axle housings, the quality of it is off the hook. Now, another thing to have a look at is this scale V8 engine. I know that one of the gripes that people actually had with this SSD Trail King the minute the spy shots got released was that this V8 engine, which is included, that it sits back and too low. Which I kind of agree to, so it's kind of pushed into the firewall. Now there's a reason they actually did that. That's because this whole scale transmission case, transfer case, and then along with that motor, it is designed with a low center of gravity in the back of the mine. So this all the way pushed down and it's pushed all the way to the back just to make it perform a tiny bit better. Now in doing that, this engine also kind of disappeared into the firewall, which in some cases can actually look scale. But for my use, I mean, I want to have something with an opening hood and I want that engine to really sit centered in there. It's not good enough, but SSD have been smart enough, I think, to immediately address the problem and release a 3D printable file. I thankfully know somebody with a 3D printer because I don't have one yet. So thanks, Tommy. Tommy's actually printing 23mm spacer for me. There's also a file for a 15mm spacer. If you have the 23mm spacer, do keep in mind you cannot run the oil pan, which is included. You can also not run the water pump and serpentine belt assembly, which you can get as an option. You can put those on the front, and by shoving the engine all the way towards the servo, you will not have any room to mount those. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. It is really cool, I think, to see this included. It also looks very detailed. It's very nicely finished. You do not need to paint up anything. Everything comes as it is, like such. So who is this truck for? This truck is actually for the guy or girl who wants to have a trail truck that is fully loaded right out of the box, that leaves absolutely nothing to be desired. And I think that SSD has truly knocked it out of the park with this Trail King. The only thing truly letting it down is this box. This box looks so incredibly plain Jane. Again, it lists nothing of the features. I have made my own list of features to kind of help me go through this video, but it would of course have been nice to see listed on the box that it has that offset front axle, all machined gears, machined aluminum C-hubs, that it has titanium or titanium links, but none of that is listed on the box, which is, I think, a missed opportunity. Now, the minute you see this box standing in a hobby store, you will walk straight past it, and I think that doesn't do this truck any justice. In it having plastic axle housings, this is, I think, the ultimate truck that you can buy. Again, it leaves nothing to be desired, nothing to be upgraded. It comes very complete. All the bells and whistles and all the details are actually there. This will be, I think, as well, a great performer out on the trails. And I cannot wait to finish it up. If you have any suggestions on what body I should use on it, I do already have some wheels and tires also by SSD that I will throw on. But if you have some ideas on what body I should actually use on it, let me know, because I will be doing that in one of the future videos. All of the Axial SE Extend 2 bumpers are actually backwards compatible with this. So I will rummage through some of the options that I have laying around here, see what I can come up with. Have some fun with it, button it up, and get it out on the forest trails. If you want to have more information about this SSD Trail King and a full list of features, full list of specs, do go check out the links in the video description box. I will make sure to put a link there to A-Main Hobbies' website. They have a really nice detailed description of what to actually expect in this box. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of the support. I really appreciate people being patient while I'm trying to get all of my ducks in a row, getting things organized for the years ahead, because I'm really not going anywhere RC wise. If you have any questions, I can imagine that you have a ton, since there's not like a lot of info listed on the box. I hope I listed enough info and I gave you a good enough idea of this SSD Trail King in this video. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments box and I will get back to you. If you have not subscribed yet, please do, because it is free. If you want to have a look at some of the apparel that I'm selling in the HemiStorm on Teespring, go have a look in the video description as well. Sell crap like this, for example. And if you want to be a tiny bit ahead of what I'm doing over here, info to my Instagram and Facebook, also in the video description box. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Back on.